Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming, tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, to kick things off, it's another absolutely gorgeous day out, or gorgeous morning rather. It is sunrise. You can see behind me, I don't know if the camera's picking it up well, but the sky it's really pink. It's like a pink hue over everything. It's really, really nice. So come along with me on my morning walk here and let's talk some news and maybe we'll see a fluff. So first up on the docket, we're talking about Game Boy emulation with CoffeeGB, and CoffeeGB just got a brand new update. So at the time of filming, CoffeeGB version 1.5.5 is the latest update. And they say here this version introduces a number of improvements in the stat timing. It fixes a few Moon Eye PPU tests and adds support for the Spidersoft pinball games, which are considered particularly hard to emulate correctly. It seems these changes were inspired by Sameboy, which had a post on Reddit about 8 years ago. CoffeeGB is still a fairly new Game Boy emulator, and I'm very curious to see where it goes from here. And speaking about being curious about things, next up we're talking about Taki Udon's upcoming FPGA console, the Superstation 1. And Taki Udon has showcased some footage of this thing in action. If you are curious about this one and wanted to learn more about it, like everything we talk about, links are in the description below right at the bottom. I don't hide my sources. And taking a look here for Taki Udon, he showcases a video for the first boot. And it also showcases Spyro in action. And speaking about making progress on things, next up here we're talking about Super Smash Bros. Melee. And if you're a fan of Super Smash Bros. And a fan of Decompilation, you might be excited about this news here. It's being reported that Super Smash Bros. Melee is 40.78% decompiled. Now, unfortunately, there is no timeline on if or when it will become decompiled. These things could take months, they could take years, they could take weeks. There's really no guaranteeing in terms of how these things are going to progress. But it does seem that progress is being made, and I'm looking forward to see what happens next. And speaking about seeing what happens next up we're talking about Hollow Knight Silksong. And something very exciting is being reported about Hollow Knight Silksong that may or may not be true. But it seems the price of the game, which we're probably going to know very soon, is set at $20 US, or $19.99 to be specific. Now this may be true or it may not be true. We're going to have to wait and see on this one. If it is true, I would say it's in line with their previous game Hollow Knight, which was priced at around $15 US. This is a $5 increase I think would be completely warranted. But honestly here, if 20 bucks is the price, that's a lot cheaper than I thought it was going to be. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And continuing to talk about Hollow Knight, I would say the $20 potential price point would be extremely good news. There's also some controversial news about Hollow Knight Silksong. If you remember back in the Kickstarter era of Silksong, which was a long time ago, back in like 2014, you might have been backing the game because the game was reported to be coming to Wii U. At least that was one of the stretch goals for the game. Turns out it's not coming to the Wii U. Not at all surprised, but there seem to be a lot of people upset about that. Now, if you don't remember, Hollow Knight Silksong originally started as DLC for Hollow Knight and has since transformed into its own standalone game. So technically, it's not really a part of that Kickstarter anymore, although some people may technically argue it is. Let me know your thoughts on that one. Now, to be honest with you, I'm not at all surprised it's not going to release on the Wii U, and I'm not even going to hold them to it, and I wouldn't even expect it to release on the Wii U in today's day and age. But if you back the project specifically for the chance it may come to the Wii U, let me know. And speaking about not surprised about stuff, not surprised about this beautiful sunrise. So I'm just going to flip the camera over here and just take a look. So just like yesterday here, beautiful sun poking above the trees and lighting up the top of the tree line there. But honestly, this is what I live for. Well, this and reporting game news. But moving on from that and speaking about game news and tech and emulation and open source news, next up here we're talking about something very interesting if you're into emulation handhelds and retro handhelds. Retro Handhelds has a brand new video on YouTube going over the GameBub, an open source FPGA retro handheld. I would recommend checking out their video on YouTube, and again, like everything we talk about, links are in the description below. It's their first look at the handheld, and it emulates the Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance, with possibly even more systems in the future, like the SNES. Now, it is worth noting that Retro Handhelds is testing out a prototype of the GameBub, and I'm very curious to see what the final version is. On top of that, the GameBub plays not just ROMs and stuff, but plays actual cartridges. And on top of that, everything is going to be open sourced about it. So if you wanted to potentially make your own, you probably can. Next up, I spotted a fluff. It's just a little one, and well, you might enjoy this one. It is a little black squirrel. This time of year, they start to fatten up a little bit, getting ready for winter hibernation, and well, this guy isn't that fat just yet. But moving on and talking about Game Boy stuff. Next up, we're talking about OutRun on the Game Boy. Now, we've talked about this one in previous videos. OutRun for the Game Boy never officially existed, but Shane McCafferty has taken it upon himself to do a recreation or an envisionment of what OutRun on the Game Boy would look like. I don't even think I used the right words there. Anyway, Shane has completed the game, and OutRun Game Boy is set to release on Monday. 100% free. And speaking about stuff for free and stuff that never originally existed, next up here we're talking about a fan translation for a very rare Sega Saturn game. And this one is called, I'm gonna butcher the name, I'm not gonna try to butcher it though. Shinrei Jusatsushi Taro Maru. Let me know how close or how far I was in the comments below. Anyways here, this game just received an English fan translation. The patch here seems to be pretty robust. I mean, they say the patch makes the following changes: opening ending credits translated to English, fully translated options menu, English title added to title screen, spelling mistake, Time Warner Interactive on title screen fixed, in-game translated UI, and opening and ending narration dubbed in English. Now, if you're not a fan of the narration being dubbed, well, there's also a second version of the patch that keeps the original voice acting intact. From my understanding here, this is one of Sega Saturn's rarest games, with only 7,500 copies of the game being made. And taking a look at resale prices, this game sells for a pretty penny overall. Now, before we get into the next segment, I've got some more fluffs for you. There's a nice, beautiful heron. I'm pretty sure it's a heron right behind me here. So let's take a closer look. So not only do we have this heron who's gracefully sitting on that branch, there's also some ducks below. Again, the beautiful things you see first thing in the morning. Well, I guess you can see these things during the day too, but I mean, at the same time with the morning sun, it's just absolutely gorgeous. Next up, we're talking about gaming handhelds again, and the Udon 2 and also Latency. And it seems as if latency is going to be something factored into more reviews as time goes on. So there's a post over on Reddit SBC Gaming here that's gaining a lot of traction. And it's titled, "Most handhelds have a latency problem. It's time we started measuring it properly." And there's a lot of detail here on how to measure latency in handhelds. There's information here about traditional solutions like Leo Bodnar's lag tester, there's Time Sleuth, Mr. Laggy, and even more. And there's also mention of the OSLTT, which stands for Subscribe to Mr. Sujano, or open source latency testing tool, depending on how you wanted to interpret that. Now, taking a look at the comments on that post, and there's a lot of very interesting feedback, including a post here from Retro Game Core. And they say, ordered, cost me about $300 after shipping and currency conversion. So in terms of retro handheld reviews, I would assume that Retro Game Core will be including latency testing into future reviews. Maybe not, who knows? And on top of that, the Udon 2 was mentioned a number of times. I mean, there's a number of comments in here slamming the Udon 2. This person says, the Udon 2 was sold within a couple of weeks after I got one. Huge latency and smeary laggy screen. I kind of lost faith in all reviewers after that, and it was so obvious and device ruining. And this person says, yeah, I thought games felt almost unplayable on the Udon 2. I would recommend reading the Reddit post and getting some information. There's a lot of very interesting comments overall. I mean, this person even says, latency is why I prefer the Arcade 2023 to my Retroid 2S, even if the 2S is an easy winner on paper. I'm thinking about starting a poll on the posts page on this YouTube channel just to see where people's interests are. Do you care about latency? Does it factor into devices you purchase? And what do you think about the Udon 2 in terms of latency in some of these comments? And speaking about interesting stuff and comments, well, next up here, we're talking about something that I've got serious doubt about, but here we go. So there's a post over on Reddit Emulation on Android, and it's titled, Big Achievement for Mali GPU, 90 FPS in GTA 5 on Winlator Bionic. It might be 90 FPS for a split second. I don't believe that this post is true in terms of the longer gameplay. Maybe looking at the wall in one person, this is true. But maybe out in the open world, this is probably not true. Honestly here, I'm not certain if this post was satire or not. I'm kind of assuming it is, but I was sent this by a few different people asking me to talk about Mali and GTA 5 with Winlator Bionic, so here I am. And speaking about controversial stuff, I guess, next up we're talking about 8-bit mods. And if you've placed a pre-order on 8-bit mods, you may want to double check that and make sure that you know what you're paying here, because 8-bit mods are increasing prices based on tariffs. So over on Twitter, 8-bit mod says, as of Thursday, August 28th, the applicable tariff on your order is calculated and collected at the checkout page. And this is based on the country of manufacture of the products in your order. For example, our MemCard Pro product line is made in the UK, so the applicable tariff at the time of writing is 10%. And products made in China have a 30% tariff applied to them. Furthermore, for orders and pre-orders placed prior to the cutoff date of August 26th, we will be getting in touch with you closer to the shipping date of your order in order to collect the applicable tariff on your order. Now, if that news has upset some people, here is a third fluff spotting in the video, just a tiny little chipmunk. We'll get down close to it here. It looks like the little guy is a little shy to say hi, so we'll just admire it from a distance. But moving on, and next up here, if you're in the UK, you may not like this news. It may not apply to you, who knows here. But anyways, in the UK, if you're on Steam, it appears that a credit card is now required for age verification purposes. Now, from my understanding here, debit cards were accepted initially, but it does seem that this was because of a system issue. So overall here, if you're in the UK and looking to purchase some age-rated games, you may need to provide a credit card. I am curious to hear your thoughts on that one. I mean, if you are in the UK, I believe 18 is the age where you're actually allowed to buy a credit card, or get a credit card. So the age verification via that method seems simple and straightforward. And I'm assuming most people using PayPal in the first place had their credit card attached to it, or maybe a lot of people did. So let me know your thoughts on that one. I would say in the overall UK Online Safety Standards Act, this is a fairly less invasive way to prove age. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. Or actually, there were quite a few fluffs in this video. We talked about a bunch today. Feel free to discuss anything we talked about in the comments below. If you liked this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate, save your state.